Today I'm going to run through my top 10 favourite Dinosaur Jr riffs. So as many of you will know, Dinosaur Jr have been one of my favourite bands for a very long time now. I discovered them probably about a decade ago when I saw that they kept getting mentioned on a lot of the guitar forums that I was frequenting at that time. The first album I bought by them was Beyond, which I've mentioned before in a video that I did at Christmas last year, which was listing the 25 albums that changed my life. And I also did a Sounds Of video on that album relatively recently. But for a change, I thought it might be nice to do a bit of a top 10 list because I'm a big fan of pretty much all their discography, and also because the YouTube algorithm seem to really like a top 10 video. With this list, I'd say the only caveat is that these aren't necessarily my top 10 favourite Dinosaur Jr songs. I'm not even sure what that list would look like. I've tried to pick songs that have a riff in them, and in this instance, riff meaning a kind of repetitive melodic guitar line that is used throughout the song, rather than just strumming away at different chords. These are also not listed in order of my least to most favourite. They're just going to be listed chronologically by the year that the album that these songs come from were released. So, kicking things off, we have the intro track from 1987's You're Living All Over Me, which is Little Fury Things. The thing I love about this track is the contrast between the super aggressive, wah, screaming intro that then drifts off into a sweet and quite lazy sounding melody in the verse. And that part is the riff that I'm referring to for this list. Next up, we have Freak Scene from 1988's Bug. I suppose it's debatable whether this track actually meets the requirements for a riff that I set out in the beginning, since it is pretty much just Jay smashing away at 3 chords. One of the other things I really like about this track is the switch up to the acoustic sound in the second verse. Next up is Out There from the album Where You Been, released the same year I was born, in 1993. This is without a doubt one of the most iconic Dinosaur Jr riffs that I went absolutely mad on trying to learn when I first heard it. For me, it has that really great blend of being melodic, but also because it's super distorted and aggressive, it has that harder, rocky edge to it. I'm also a huge fan of the wavy, bending lead playing on the song as well. My next choice is from the same album, and that song is Start Choppin'. This one's a bit weird because it has a very clean, almost funk sounding intro, and you're not really sure where the song's going to go. And then of course you get that big build up to the song actually kicking off. And I think it's a bit of a twofer, this one, because I think the first riff is just as good as the intro. Next up is Feel the Pain from 1994's Without a Sound. Probably Dinosaur Jr.'s most well-known song, and by far their most played on streaming services. Again, this is a bit of a double riffer because you have the main intro and verse riff, which then kicks off into a double time one for the chorus. Jumping forward a bit now, we have the song Pick Me Up from 2007's Beyond. I love this album so much, and Pick Me Up has always been a standout track for me. Not only because of the 6.5 minute runtime, but also because this entire song is basically just riff after riff smashed together into one unrelenting masterpiece. Moving on, we have a track from 2009's Farm, which is I Don't Want to Go There. Again, a super long track at almost 9 minutes that has a great intro riff that's used throughout the song and also breaks down to half time right at the end, as well as a bit of a breakout bridge riff that's used throughout the song when the bass and drums stop playing. Okay, so I might have lied a bit, and this is actually a top 11 list because I couldn't decide between that last track and this one, also from Farm, and that track is called Pieces. Again, I think it's debatable whether it meets my criteria of a riff, but it's always been a standout favourite for me. It's that little arpeggiated last chord on the main intro riff that really does it for me. Our next song is the closing track from 2012's I Bet on Sky, and that song is See It On Your Side. A bit of a slower one, this one, but that 2-chord riff on the intro is one of my all-time favourites. It's great on its own, but then you have Jay's lead playing over the top, and it's just the perfect foundation for that. Rounding out the list, we have 2 tracks from 2016's Give a Glimpse of What You're Not, starting with I Walk for Miles. I was blown away a bit when I first heard this track because it's got a bit of a stonery doom rock thing going on. Super fuzzy, super heavy, and I really like this side of Dinosaur Jr.'s style. And last but not least, we have a fun little number in open G, which is the song Going Down. It's the intro track, and it's such a great way of kicking off such a great album. I wore this album out when it was first released, and Going Down is probably one of my favourites on the entire thing. Thank you for watching, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you're as much of a Dinosaur Jr fan as I am, why don't you let us know in the comments what would be in your top 10. And as always, I'll see you next time.